Joyce DiDonato, can we start with this towering figure of Rossini, please? Can you give us a sense of the many ways that he tests you as a singer?
Wow, how doesn't he test you? You have to have complete and utter command of your voice, because he asks most singers to go over 2 octaves in their singing, 2.5 octaves usually, solidly. So the top has to be great, the bottom has to be great, and everything in between has to be great. He asks every articulation and kind of musical phrasing, staccato, legato, slow, fast, everything in between. But even more than that, I think one of the ways he tests you most is in your imagination. I think we saw some of that tonight, because sometimes the music on its own can get a little pedantic, and I say that with all the respect in the world. If you dig a little bit, it takes flight in a way that is extraordinary. But it's not always obvious. I think sometimes you have to infuse it with imagination, I think. I say that's one of the greatest tools for a singer, is the imagination, because I think he wants you, well, I can't say that with authority, but I think it's most successful when it feels like you're painting rather than singing. That's what I hear when I hear great Rossini singers. There's an element of that.
But can a great singer learn imagination and that quality, or does it have to be there? Do you have to be a good actor that then practices your stage craft?
Ooh, that's $1 million question. I do think even great artists on the stage, and you can admire what they're doing, then somebody will arrive and there's that puissance, there's that uncharacterizable quality. Imagination, I actually don't think it can be taught. I think it has to be relearned. I don't know, can anybody think of a child that doesn't have the most wickedly wild, fabulous imagination? We teach it out of them. And what's the word? We scrub it out of ourselves.
We teach them to sit still in school, and they must be submissive and sit straight and listen.
And shh. And don't quit moving. And and no singing at the table. Oh, that was our thing. I couldn't sing at the dinner table. Ha ha ha, Mom! No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, paging Dr. Freud.
Right. But there were 9 people around that dinner table. Now I understand why she said that. It would have been cacophony. But we scrub it out of ourselves. We disinfect ourselves of our creativity and imagination because it makes us not normal. Blech. So I think we have to relearn what that is, and then I think we have to give ourselves permission to let that part of us play again.
Tell us a bit about your experiences of masterclasses. From the outside, I would imagine that tough criticism can be devastating for an artist who's building up their sense of self-esteem and confidence.
It is, the reality is, and people that are not in this educational world of conservatories and training, you don't realize this, but I'd say 94% of your day when you're a student is being told what's not right. Maybe I'm being generous, might be 97%. And certainly there are months where it's 100%. And all you're being told is what's not right, what you're doing wrong, what you don't have yet, what's not working. And it's devastating. And it's not abusive, but it feels like abuse when it's happening to you. But I think there are instances actually where it can cross into abuse in a way, but it's this, because the demand of what we're expected to do as artists is so great, and there is so much to learn. I look at this now, this is gonna sound a little strange, but I look at them and I'm like, how does anybody do this? And when I'm doing it, it's my job, it's what I do, it makes perfect sense. I've been through that journey, but from the outside, there's so much to learn, and the language isn't right, and the technique isn't, and the breath isn't working, and what are you doing with your hand, and why did you wear that dress? And you're just like, who are you looking at? Why aren't you, watch the conductor, and the tenor, she's not looking at me. And you're like, well, I just am trying to sing. And literally, years of your life are being told with what's not right. And the trick is, I think, to somehow absolutely remember that it's not personal. It's just not personal. And all of that criticism, you have to become a very distinguished listener. And you need to be able to understand what is constructive and what is not. But which means you also have to be honest to yourself, because sometimes something's very constructive, but it's hard to hear. So you go, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And so you have to, it's always this balance, which is a great life lesson in general. I did a Masterclass, and it was in San Francisco, and so it was about 97. I was singing my first Angelina in English, and so I would have been 28, much older than these guys already, and still not quite formed, but on the way. I'd made a big leap in the year before in my voice, in my studies, and so I was starting to get confidence. And I went to Marilla in San Francisco, and it was one of the best summers I had. I started to get noticed. And people were starting to say, I had a good success with the Cenerentola. We got one performance outdoor in English, no more pots and pans by the fireplace. And I could still sing it. And I was starting to walk a little taller and I think I'm getting the singing thing. And I did a Masterclass with a very famous, amazing singer. And there were 4 people that went before me. And all 4 of them were younger, and I will say probably more inexperienced. I had a little bit more of the package together. I can say that, not being immodest, and they all got the, oh, darling, this is a star, you're fabulous, beautiful, there's really nothing to say. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna be good, right? Famous last words. And I did Adalgisa's opening aria, which is a long intro, and then it's like non più mesta, plonk, 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 and silence, and then you go out of nowhere. Sgombra la sacra selva. So plonk, plonk, plonk. Darling, how can you possibly start that phrase with the breath you just took? Everybody else got to sing the whole aria, right? Everybody else got to sing the whole aria, and I was like, yeah, okay, I must not have taken a good breath. Okay, yeah, so we start again. Plonk, plonk, plonk. Well, now you are too nervous. Now you're shaking, you can't possibly breathe. And it kind of went downhill from there. And you know what I was most proud of at the end of that? It was excruciating. It probably lasted 4 minutes, but it felt like 5,362. I didn't cry.
Bravo.
And sometimes that's just half the game. And that was a triumph, because I kept standing there, and there was something in me that started turning. It's like, I know that I'm not doing everything wrong. I'm going to endure these 5,632 minutes, and I'm going to then go back to what I do. But I was 28. Had that happened when I was 24, I probably would have run from the stage. So that's the journey that I know. I get so many tweets and letters from young people, and they're devastated, and they're losing the way, and they're losing faith and all of that. And it's hard. And sometimes you'll get weeded out. That's the truth. Sometimes you'll decide that it is too hard, and that's so okay. It's so okay to make that decision. But other times you just need to say, do I still have this in me, and find that wherewithal.
We have various questions from Twitter that have been coming into the Opera House throughout the day. First from Mrs. BBB, who says, I have a really daft question, which we like. How do opera singers avoid hearing damage when a colleague is singing at them at full volume?
Avoid what? There's a gunshot in Donna del Lago, and lovely Robin Leggett. He just just puts his hand right over my ear right before it happens. I'm like, Robin, you're lovely. There is the trick that, you know, the tenor will act like he's about to kiss you and the hands are right over the ear. I mean, it's wicked at times, you know? It's sort of like that. The amazing thing about being up close to an opera singer, from where you all sit most of the time, it's this big round sound. When you're, especially the big voices, it's like this laser beam of just the most intense height. And it's just like shooting through you. Placido Domingo is like that. It's just like up close, it's just vibration. And you kind of think, well, I don't know, it doesn't sound like such a big sound. And then you go, whoa. It's because the more pingy it is up close than the ringier it is out there. I sing with a lot of Rossini tenors, and there's a lot of that squealo happening. I guess we get used to it. I sort of think like, wow, I have the best seat in the house, and I didn't have to pay for it. So, but there are also tricks, you know. I mean, there's the hand over the head. There's that sort of, you know, burying your head in the chest, and I mean, not just tell all our secrets, but some of it is occupational hazards.
What advice do you have for singers when you have a bad day at the office?
Bad day at the office. You know, I'm curious. I would like to ask surgeons what they do. I would like to ask policemen what they do. You do your job. I have a very black and white approach to what I do. And I also have the Pollyanna, everything is rainbows approach. Because I love music, and I believe in its power, and I know the world needs it, and I live that really grandly. But at the end of the day, my job is to produce sound in a believable story on the stage. It's very unromantic. My contract is not for me to be moved to tears, but for the audience. So there have been excruciating personal days, excruciating, where I have had to go out and sing Non più mesta or Tanti affetti and do that. The beautiful, amazing, luxurious thing that I have is that music is a great healer. And I hear those chords and immediately my spirit kind of goes, wow. And if I can stay open to that and let that work its magic on me, then that can go through to the audience. I think one of the best overriding approaches that I've sort of clung to, especially in those moments, is the concept that it's not about me. Which is funny because so much of it is about me. I've got to take care of myself. I've got to eat well. I can't talk on the phone for 8 hours before the thing. I've got to say, I'm sorry, I can't go out. I've got to go home and rest. So it is very me-oriented to keep this healthy. But the actual, what I do has nothing to do with me at all. Has everything to do with you guys, and has everything to do with the music that's been written. And the more I can go to that space, it takes all the pressure off of me. Then I don't have to be great. I don't have to be loved. I don't have to have my identity tied to what kind of sound comes out of my mouth. If I've rehearsed well, if I've prepared as best I can, if I'm going to give everything I have on that night, I have a reasonable chance for success. But when I go out on that stage, and let's say I've been crying 30 minutes ahead of time, I'll drink hot tea, I'll breathe, I'll literally go, okay, wait, just phonate. Okay, I've done that literally 30 minutes before going on stage. I need more concealer, okay. And then you do it. But the second I remember I have a job to do and it's not about me, it's the same as a surgeon going to work, and you know, it's what I do.
And there, I think we have to leave it. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
You're always so good about it. Thank you.